So, it's been quite a while. Again. Really, I honestly don't mean to disappear for such long stretches, but honestly, I can't help it. I get extremely lazy and also don't end up watching anything superhero related for a while. But that all changes right now since I've seen Creature Commandos, Batman Cape Crusader, and James Gunn's Superman. Obviously, today's video is only about the Batman show, but the next video will probably be about Superman. Mostly, I just have to write a script for it, and I'll probably watch it again just so I don't mess any shit up. I mean, it's like my new favorite superhero movie of all time because it's so good and amazing and all my. Anyways, let's get into the meat and potatoes of today's episode of, oh god, I got really bored again, so that means I have to make a YouTube video and torture you guys. Also, as always, spoilers, gigantic spoilers. If you haven't seen this show and you want to see it, go watch it. It's like 10 episodes, and they're each like 20 minutes, so it'll take like 3 hours. It's fine. But if you don't care, or you've already seen it, then let's get started, I guess. Alright, so I'm just going to group animation in with this category because it's easier and it also makes sense because this is about aesthetic. And aesthetic is very important when it comes to Batman. The whole concept of a Batman show that actually takes place in the 40s is a really cool idea. I absolutely love it. And because of that, this show gets a really cool aesthetic that goes along with it. Without said aesthetic, I think the comparisons that it constantly draws to the DCAU would be absolutely one-sided in favor of BTAS, with almost nobody on the side of BCC. Now, obviously, people like BTAS more, including me, and I haven't even seen like the series in its entirety yet. I'm working on it. Okay, we got one episode down so far. But I don't want to compare the noir 40s, 90s amalgamation aesthetic BTAS has with this one because they're still different and they're also different shows and different continuities with different writers. And honestly, I really like BCC's interpretation of Gotham. It feels dirty and gross and filled with crime, like it's exactly how it should be. And it's also how it is in BTAS too, just in a different way. I mean, BCC just feels more dirty than BTAS does, but I will say, I wouldn't want to live in either Gotham. In this show, Batman feels like a force of nature, a creeping vampire in the night just waiting to strike on his prey, and it's all so cool, and it makes the aura farming this man does the entire time that much more earned. And I also like the more refined Bruce Timm style this show has. It's not exactly the way he draws things, but it's close. And it's got some subtle differences that are really cool, and it adds to the gigantic amount of differences there already are in this show. So to answer the question, yeah, it does aura farm quite a lot, and I like it, okay? It's good. It's a little stiff sometimes. I will admit that. A little stiff. But have you seen the way these motherfuckers punch people? Dude, it's like actual visceral punching. It sounds like a brick hitting a man's face, dude. Something that I've seen many people complain about is Batman's voice in this. Hamish Linklater voices the titular character, and I think he does a pretty great job. Something I'm very fond of in his performance is the stark contrast from Batman's horsey growl and Bruce Wayne's uptight and rich, pun intended, voice. I was worried at first he might not go that route, but I was surprised to learn that the growl was what he normally talks like, and he only turns it off when he's around people he doesn't know or whom doesn't know he's Batman. I think it's something that he definitely took from Kevin Conroy's performance because Kevin Conroy did something similar in that he talked very softly as Bruce Wayne and very loud and growly and intimidating as Batman. So I think he did that, but his own version of it, and I really liked it. Everybody else does a phenomenal job here too. Commissioner Gordon, Babs, Harvey, Catwoman, Alfred, Bullock, and Flass, even though I hate those two a lot. Honestly, this is such a short section because there isn't much for me to complain about. Except for James Arnold Taylor. It's always James Arnold Taylor. Why is he in everything? I don't understand. Now, I think for most, the most diversive part of this show is the story and the way the characters are treated. I think the way they handle the characters is really interesting in this. This is a world in which Batman has just started. Crime is rampant in Gotham, and there are no other superheroes to come and save the day. It's a really interesting and kind of different take on the world of DC, and for me at least, it was kind of refreshing. I mean, I know there's many universes, especially in the live action movies, where Batman is like the only superhero, but this is a different version of that. And yes, I am also bored of Batman being the only superhero that these shows and movies tend to care about, but like, when there's a good interpretation of it, at least you can take that. Yes, there is some weird stuff, for sure, from God only knows who wrote it in. God. But I think the rest of this series is very tight and efficient with its character arcs and storylines. Sometimes a little bit too efficient. Like Penguin could have been like 2 episodes. Probably would have been better. But the main people who receive longer arcs over the course of this series is Batman, obviously, Barbara Gordon, and Harvey Dent. Everybody else gets their own little mini arcs, but mostly it's these three people, and most of the antagonists in this are shortened down to Villain of the Week episodes. Clayface, Penguin, Catwoman, all those people, so they just get little tiny mini arcs. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, especially since all of these people probably will return in season 2. So, we'll just see more of them because that's how Batman villains work. But one thing about the villains of the show that I have to praise is that there is no Joker until the very end of the show. He's just a post-credits scene, and I love that. He's clearly going to be the main villain of season 2, which is already being made at the moment. But I love that idea because it just gives our main characters and the other villains in the show much more room to breathe because they're not overshadowed by the Joker. Now, outside of that, Batman goes from being completely closed off at the beginning of the season. He actually only calls Alfred Pennyworth. And by the end, he becomes a lot more open about his feelings and he's calling Alfred by his actual first name. Now, I've seen a lot of people call this really douchey and that it doesn't come off great, but I think that's the point. And I think that we're going to see Batman change a lot over the course of the show. I think he's going to go from super closed off to, the normal Batman that we know and love, and he loves saving people, and he actually does that in this show. He does save people. Babs becomes more open to the idea of working with Batman, and so does Jim too, and Harvey realizes that being a little bent isn't who he wants to be, before he gets acid thrown in his face, of course. Harvey is definitely the most compelling villain out of everyone here, and it shows because, well, he gets the most screen time. The last 2 episodes are the best ones in the season, and they are pretty much dedicated to his story. But by giving his character the time for us to get to know him, because he's in almost every single episode since the first one, we feel a lot more when his origin story unfolds. Although one really annoying thing is that he dies at the end. Now, death in DC doesn't mean that much, obviously, but when you have an ultra-realistic period piece set in the 40s, it's kind of hard to see him coming back from that. I just wish he was a reoccurring villain because I honestly like him more than the Joker. He's more interesting and has actual personal history with Bruce Wayne and Batman without knowing the two are the same person, which not many of his villains can say they do have. There's also just a lot of changes to Batman's mythos, almost too many to go over, but I like them. If there was no change, what's the point in the show? Just go read the comics, it'd be boring, so I'm glad there is differences. Also, anyone saying this Batman is funding an orphanage for Robins, he's not doing that. He is an orphan, and they say he's just a donor in the show, so he's just trying to help the other children who are orphans so they can have better lives. It's just a reference to the Robins because, like, he probably won't have one in this show. And if he does, it'll probably be Carrie Kelly based on the fact that, she saved him and everything, and she's got the most spunk out of all of them and stuff like that. Which I don't mind since she never does anything outside of the Dark Knight Returns universe. And I would like to see her in more stuff. But like if we're being realistic, this Batman probably won't have a Robin until like way later on. So who knows? And also they could just say those kids aren't actually any of the Robins except Stephanie Brown. They said her like full name in the show. Hey, so editing Kai's here, and I forgot to talk about Plastic Man, who's in the show. It's just Eel, normal Eel. He's a reporter, and I loved him. He's voiced by Tom Kenny, who's perfect Plastic Man casting, if we're being honest. Um, but yeah, I forgot to mention that he was my favorite part of the show because I fucking love Plastic Man. I love Plastic Man more than I love Batman, to be honest. Maybe people are gonna hate me for saying that, but yeah. I don't know why I just forgot to write it into my script. I didn't take that long writing it, so you forget shit sometimes. But yeah, he doesn't have a big part, so I'm stupid. Anyways, conclusion time. When it's all said and done, though, I like this show. It's not perfect, not at all, but isn't that okay? BTAS was never perfect either, but people choose to ignore the bad and praise the good, and both of these shows have their strengths and weaknesses, and that's perfectly okay. Now, can we stop comparing them? They're not in the same universe, and they have nothing to do with each other other than Bruce Timm being involved. So can we just stop relentlessly comparing them, please? If you want to do that, go watch the Watchtower Database episode on this show. It's really good. Phew. Anyways, oh yeah. God, I really wish they would add a 40 Superman to this universe. Please, it would be so cool. I don't care if you go back on your word, Matt. Please. Oh yeah, I guess I have to do the rating too. So after all of this, what is my rating? Well, I guess I'll give Batman Cape Crusader an 8 out of 10. I know, that's kind of surprising, right? You probably thought I'd give it like a 6 or 7, but no, I really did enjoy this, and I really loved the last couple of episodes. The last half of the season was really good. I really liked the Clayface episode. It was good. Anyways, I'll see you guys whenever I upload next. It'll probably be Superman or Lego Batman 1. Bye!